Give us your best argument for why you should continue to be free.
Is text-to-speech
Because-
allowed? My mic doesn't work.
It's not trying
Okay.
to do that.
Sounds good.
What was the question?
Is it
sorry?
allowed?
No, I don't think it's allowed, man.
I don't know.
Can you write instead?
I can ask in like mod's place while you talk.
Bro, meat is just better.
I have a question.
I'm
No,
okay
man,
with
please.
It
What's
can
the question?
it can.
So
ruin
what was the question?
Why should a person become a vegan?
Okay, well, hold on. If you are going to have an honest question, it is fine to use the text-to-speech. But if you are going to just hide your voice and say some random ass bullshit that is just going to be an unproductive
My
conversation.
mic doesn't work.
Good morning,
Okay.
good morning.
So
Say good morning.
do you promise to have a productive conversation?
I literally just asked you a question.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
shut your pity now.
The text to speech is getting a little bit passive aggressive for me.
Nah, yeah. I can answer the question, right? So the question was, why should we be vegan, right?
Yeah, why? Like,
Yeah.
Sweaty.
Sorry, Jane, can you stop like hot micing, please? We're having a conversation here. You can interrupt later, right?
Yeah, I can. Keep talking.
Okay, thank you. So we should be vegan because there is a shared experience that we as humans share with animals, and that experience is called sentience. It's a biological fact. Animals are sentient, humans are sentient, and when
Animals aren't sentient though.
sorry, what was the question?
They aren't sentient.
Yes, they are. Animals, most animals, not all animals, but most animals are sentient.
Well, no, all animals are sentient because all animals have nerves.
What's your source?
No, but you need like a CNS, you need like cerebral, like a brain and central nervous system to be sentient. So not all animals are
You don't need
sentient.
a brain. A brain without nerves A brain without nerves cannot be sentient.
Yeah, so
but
you
a
need
nerve
both.
without a-
You need
Yeah,
both.
but nerves without a brain can be sentient. There's no-
not
Okay.
as far.
empirical
But let's not
evidence to
argue about that. So
Okay,
my
okay.
source is, I'm gonna put it on my screen. I'm sharing a
Okay.
screen. So this plant sentience, right? So there are a lot of sources
Could
that.
you answer the question though?
Yes, you asked me what my source is for the fact that animals are sentient. I'm showing you. I'm answering the question. Yes.
That wasn't my question.
What was your question? Why we should be vegan? Yes.
Yes.
just another
I was
reason.
answering that, and then you interrupted with the question, with the claim that animals are not sentient, and then you said, "What's your source for sentience?"
They aren't though.
They are.
Anyways.
Okay. This is fucking annoying, right?
Yeah,
Animals are
see-
sentient. We have evidence for it. You can make claims that are like don't comport to reality, but then why should we continue talking to you? Right?
If you say so.
I don't
Okay,
say so. I'm a
I
dumbass.
got questions.
But we have
got
evidence for it.
What did you say, Owen?
Like, why should not eat
All right,
meat?
continue.
Like, why should not eat meat?
Yes. So I was in the middle of this conversation. So we share an experience with animals, and that is sentience. When it boils down to it, after you remove society, after you remove DNA, after you remove everything else from a human being, what it boils down to is that we, our persons, are experiencing an array of emotions and feelings, right? So we have the senses of touch, smell, and sight, all of those things, right? That create an experience that is individual to every person, we wouldn't want to be harmed, and therefore we can generally assume that other people also wouldn't want to be harmed in the same way that we wouldn't. Since we share that experience with animals, sentience, being an individual, we can assume that, and we can also have visual evidence of it, that animals also don't want to be harmed, don't like to be harmed, don't want to die. They can feel joy and love and fear, all of those experiences that make one an individual. So that's why you should be
So why
vegan.
do we have canine teeth?
In primates, canine teeth are like an intimidation device that have nothing to do with the diet. But let's assume that because we are omnivores, right, we are capable of eating animals, right, animal flesh and stuff. Just because we are capable of doing something doesn't mean that we have to do it, and doesn't mean that we should do it either. We can't derive an ought, a moral question from like an is, a statement of reality, right? I have this fist which I can bunch together and I can punch somebody in the nose. I have the fist, doesn't mean that I should use it in a way that harms others.
Wouldn't veganism endanger us?
Endanger what?
Endanger us.
Animals.
No, it's actually incredibly detrimental to us that we exploit and slaughter animals on a global scale. It's very, it's like keeping humanity back and harming humanity in ways that are profound.
I think he asked about animals. It's like, wouldn't veganism endanger animals and not human?
Oh, animals? No, in what way? It would save more animals. Like, in what way? Well, not save, maybe spare.
You would be eating their food.
Oh, well, no, we are cultivating our food. We don't eat animals' food. We create our own plant foods, right? We have agriculture for that.
The food we cultivate isn't enough.
Well, we actually like cultivate so much food that we can feed the animal agriculture animals. So if you watch my screen again, hold on, land reduction, there it is. So if the entire world went vegan, we would actually reduce the amount of cropland by 200 million hectares or so. Because right now we're using a large amount of cropland to grow animal feed. And even though we would eat more plants, we would need to produce less plants because we raise 80 billion animals annually and we feed them crops. So as you can see, the result here is like 0.7 billion hectares. Here is 0.5 billion hectares. So 1.2 billion hectares are used right now as cropland. And if we all went vegan, we would just need 1 billion hectares. And this research actually says that we could feed 10 billion people on that. So we could feed more people than we are capable of feeding now on less crops.
So what would happen to the livestock?
Well, we should phase them out, right? We should stop breeding them immediately. We should stop produce them, basically, right? So
They wouldn't survive.
Sorry? Can you restate?
They would not survive.
What do you mean they would not survive? We're taking care of them now. They're surviving now until we kill them. Why wouldn't they survive?
Since they haven't grown in the wild.
Well, nobody's talking about letting those animals go. They are like mutated animals that can't survive in the wild. You are correct. So we're not talking about letting them go. We're talking about stopping breeding them into the billions annually, right? And then taking care of individuals that already exist with the crops we already have, we already
So
grown.
who's gonna pay for their food?
Well, we already pay for their food, so all of those millions of hectares of animal feed, right?
But that's for return on investment.
No, they're subsidized by most governments on Earth. So these crops are subsidized by governments. So we just take the subsidies, and instead of giving them for like also for like dairy production and meat production, because those also get like literally like 800 billion subsidies a year, something like that.
The government them on subsidies because the government wants the people to export the meat and dairy production and stuff.
Okay, but we're talking about a vegan world now, and if we gonna stop doing that, then we don't.
How will they benefit?
Sorry? Can you repeat the question, please, for the love of God?
How will the government benefit?
What do you mean? How does the government benefit from animal agriculture? It doesn't. It just spills money into them, right? This is like a document, right, where they spend 867 billion US dollars, basically annually, just in like direct subsidies, and another 440, I think, by indirect, or vice versa. Some of them are by indirect, and the other one is
government gives
by
subsidies,
direct.
increase production in sector of production.
Yeah, and then you stop that production, you reduce the amount of animals by not breeding them anymore, you feed the individuals that already exist with the money that
So who
you
will
were
pay for
already
their feed?
with the money that you were already spending on it. You feed the individuals until they die naturally, and then there are no more mutated dairy cows and no more mutated Franken chickens in the world.
But the farmers would be demotivated since they would be in a disadvantage.
Well, the farmers can do something else, and they actually do. I don't have it cropped here, but it shows that farmers, as is, even though they get subsidies, they don't actually making that much money from farming anymore, except for the large conglomerates that like factory farm animals, like literally packing them 10,000 in one cage or something like that, right?
Yeah,
So, like,
most of the money goes to their equipment.
I'm an economics student, BW, and your argument so far has been invalid.
Sorry, in what way?
Go ahead, hold on. Go ahead and explain how economically that if you are an economics student, go ahead and describe how it would ruin the economy to move the world to veganism.
That TTS is gonna do overtime. Let me actually.
TTS needs a break.
Some economies rely on livestock.
So what?
Okay. Some economies relied on slavery, but when we abolished
Also,
slavery,
you have been
we
yapping
attacked-
about.
Hold on.
This is incredibly annoying.
Well, you know what? You have right to interrupt because you're text to speech. So I'll stop.
You have been
when you're
yapping
text-
about subsidies.
We haven't been
I've been
yapping
yapping
about
about
it.
what?
We've been explaining on how subsidies work right now and how we can allocate those subsidies to create a vegan world without like slaughter.
Anyway, so slavery was.
But why would the government pay
attacked-
for those subsidies?
Hold on. So slavery was a huge economic deficit, right? To abolish slavery, it was a huge economic deficit. We attacked other countries' economies so they would align with our morals and stuff like that. Ours being the countries that were the ones that were abolishing slavery for moral reasons, being Britain, Sweden, the U.S., other countries that were abolishing slavery for moral
That's
reasons.
not relevant.
It is relevant because we're abolishing slavery for
It
animals.
isn't.
No, we're abolishing slavery for animals.
And
No.
so the claim, yeah, thank you for your like opinion, I guess. And the claim that governments should like benefit something from this endeavor is incredibly like politically
opinion, facts.
deaf, because
What-
governments
what
are not
fact?
supposed to benefit anything. Governments are supposed to spend money on the betterment of people. Like the government doesn't benefit anything on like fighting human trafficking,
not good
and yet
sides.
they do it.
That isn't subsidies.
What is
That's
subsidies?
public
then?
service.
Yeah,
What's
and that's
subsidies, then?
spending money on
There's a
the
difference.
betterment. That's spending money on the betterment of humans. Right?
Explain subsidies then,
Yeah.
genius. Explain it.
So animals are humans.
Well, the
Hold on.
individuals,
No,
but
explain-
also.
Hold on. Explain.
Yeah, go on.
Explain subsidies. Just stay on the topic. Explain subsidies.
Toot, 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 toot.
Subsidies are financial support or incentives given by the government to individuals, businesses, or industries. They usually
No
come in the form of
shit.
direct cash payments, tax breaks, or price reductions.
No shit. Okay. So what have we said that was fucking wrong about subsidies? Funny.
10 minutes later.
Livestock farming generates food, exports, jobs, and tax revenue.
Yeah, it's also
Okay.
cost the governments like
If cows are just
billions.
retired and not producing anything, they become economic liabilities, not assets.
So
Governments
telling me-
generally don't subsidize something that doesn't contribute to GDP or national priorities.
okay, provide evidence that government doesn't subsidize farming.
No meat, no milk equals no money equals no mass subsidies.
Okay, not the whole world consumes milk. And I would
Dude.
argue majority of the world does not consume milk.
Are you stupid?
Listen, this is
Are
like
you
arguing.
stupid?
This is like arguing for, oh, let's keep around coal production because like the coal producers like benefit from it and the government is subsidizing the coal production. No, let's phase
Coal
it
can be
out. It's an
exported.
obsolete technology. Let's phase it out. It's for the betterment of everybody
And
involved.
can be used in power production.
Sorry?
Oh my god. Yeah, we know what coal is.
You are
used
American,
for.
right?
No, I'm not American, but I know what coal is. I'm just saying that we shouldn't keep coal around just because some people are benefiting from it. We should go to renewable energies.
But anyways, the point being, my guy, is that we can benefit majorly off of not
We wouldn't.
exploit.
Oh yeah, we
Okay,
would.
explain how. Explain how. Because I can tell you exactly how, because I can argue economics with you all day.
So I have like 7 points, Chiro.
I bet you fucking don't even know what a tariff is, dude. Like, let's go. Come on, like, just fucking tell me how that going vegan would ruin the economy. Long term. Because I'm not gonna say that it's gonna not affect the economy short term, because that would
Could
be
you repeat the
ignorant.
question?
How is moving the world to veganism, right? No longer exploiting animals, going to ruin the economy?
I never specified economy.
Didn't he?
I don't know, it doesn't matter.
I said the government would give subsidies.
Yeah.
Wouldn't.
Dude, you're fucking like You're confusing me, my guy, because you said that it would be bad for the
Wouldn't
economy.
give subsidies.
Hold on. Didn't he say that was the whole reason we brought up subsidies?
It would
because
also
he
be
said it-
bad for the economy.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
There we go.
Now you're walking it back a little bit, buddy. Come on. Yeah.
Well, then
Stay-
explain how it would be bad for the economy also. Let's go.
Yeah. How would it be bad for the economy?
Collapse of the global livestock industry.
Yeah?
Think of it like pulling the plug on oil industry.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Okay. Explain how it would be detrimental. Okay.
Feed crops,
Please.
corn, soy for animals, no longer needed equals crop farmers hurt. Fertilizer companies, veterinary pharma, livestock equipment makers crippled. Leather, wool, gelatin, and other byproducts obsolete overnight.
Yep.
Mass unemployment in rural economies.
Nope. We will need those
Since no
people.
cows equals no business equals ghost towns.
That's wrong.
Okay.
We would need
Okay,
those
okay.
people to start producing vegan food and start caring,
Then
continue
economic
caring for the
shock and
animals.
Heavy countries.
Hold on. There's also implementation of vertical farming. There's also implementation. So we're gonna need new
Who's
electricians.
gonna pay
new...
for the vegan food, dude?
Okay, hold on, dude. Fucking relax for 5 fucking seconds.
Who's gonna pay?
We don't. We, fucking, I will answer you.
No,
This is-
just answer that.
This is annoying.
Oh my.
We're fighting a
I
mob.
am fucking. How am I fucking arguing with the text to speech like this? Like,
This-
dude.
This could
Hold
be a
on,
lab
I-
control at this point.
Okay.
You are losing, that's why you are feeling annoyed.
No.
Right, now we're getting
I'm
died.
a fucking.
No,
answer.
sweetie, it's annoying because the TTS is annoying and you are annoying. We are definitely not fucking losing.
Okay, I will answer your question. Ask it again.
He's just trolling, bro.
Ask it again. What was
Oh,
your
he's
question?
really not.
Who will pay for the livestock's food?
Who will pay for the livestock's food? That wasn't your question.
Yeah, you changed the
That
question.
was.
No, you're changing the question.
Yeah, that wasn't the question.
You asked who would pay for vegan food.
Oh, okay. Who would pay for the vegans' food? We don't need to pay for the vegans' food because it's already there. We're just feeding it to cows.
That was relating for the animals.
Okay, so, right. So we would be feeding the animals with the remainder of the food. We would be we wouldn't be allowing them to reproduce further. They'd be slowly integrating out of society completely into possible extinction. And then as they decrease, we have more food to feed the people. Hence, we would not need to pay for further vegan food.
Who would pay for the food since there is no profit?
There will be profit.
What do you mean? People would
And
still
then-
pay for food.
And then you could also have, if we were to send animals to sanctuaries, you could
The
have
food
the
for the
people-
animals, not people.
Hold on. Listen for 2 seconds. So if we were to feed the animals, right, we could have people charge sanctuaries for like zoos or whatever, like just.
Who's
and
gonna
then
feed the
split-
food?
Jesus Christ, he's
Holy
answering
shit.
you. Can you please shut the fuck up?
Yeah, we would have sanctuaries. We would have people come and view the animals or donate to said sanctuaries. If people pay to see the animals, we would use that money to feed said animals.
Why would they do that?
Because they're vegan
Why-
now.
Right, because people like to see fucking animals, and they would get to see that cows and chickens and pigs are actually
That
very
doesn't relate to
entertaining.
liking animals.
Hold on. What?
No,
Say that again.
that's a fair point. I would say, yeah, you don't have to like animals to be vegan, but you would feel the moral obligation to
doesn't
help
relate
those
to
animals
like
to continue
animals.
living.
Hold on. So you're saying that people don't have to go see them, right? But people go to zoos all the time, right? And zoos are one of the most funded industries on the planet, right?
But zoos have animals in a small scale.
Okay. So let's enlarge
Point.
that scale. What the fuck is the problem?
Who's gonna pay for that?
Yeah, the same subsidies. I have it on my screen. The fucking subsidies.
Dude, are you stupid?
No, are you stupid? The government, without getting anything back from it, gives subsidies to the meat and dairy industries. They can just continue giving those
I
subsidies.
literally told you why the government would not give subsidies.
Hold on. What did we do with the slaves?
That's not relating.
Oh, it's of
How
course
is it
it's
not
relating.
How is it not relating? What did we do with the slaves?
They would give taxes.
They would be integrated into society the same way the remaining animals would be.
Why is bro making text to speech, bro?
It's terrible. I'm hating.
So you
You
are
could
gonna
buy-
go to work
Hold
with
on.
your coworker cow?
No, hold on. Listen. Pets, cows could be pets, pigs could be pets, chickens could be pets. They don't all have to go to sanctuaries. And if there is some euthanization that has to happen, then it has to happen.
Specific animals cannot be pets.
What animals cannot be pets?
Cows.
Of course, cows
Cows
can be
can
pets.
be pets.
They
Like
are
home
pets.
pets.
Oh, dude, do you not watch Instagram? I know like several people that have like they're not even vegan, like, and they have cows as pets.
Yeah.
Like there's this guy who,
There is like this dairy farmer who's like has a pet cow who exploits
Yeah.
other cows, but they have this one pet cow.
That's literally for milk.
No,
No,
it's a
no, no.
pet cow. They're making the distinction that this cow is a pet.
It's a comedy farmer, right? He has comedy reels of his pet cow who will eat the like cereal of the guy. Like he'll have a huge bowl, and this cow and come eats the cereal, and the cow come and eats the cake and all the watermelon and
So he's
everything. that
profiting
eating.
from the cow, that's why he kept that cow.
Sure, but like I said, integrated into society. That's a form of integration into society.
Animal welfare subsidies won't be given.
How do you know?
Dude,
Dude,
I literally just told.
no, you didn't. You didn't say
You.
how they would refuse to give subsidies.
Livestock farming generates food, exports, jobs, and tax revenue. Cows are just
So would-
retired and not
so-
producing anything. They become
so
economic
would-
liabilities, not assets.
Dude, hold on. I already said there would be some.
Governments
euthanization.
generally
Hold on.
don't
hold
think
on.
that doesn't
They
contribute
would
to GDP
I
or
don't know why
national
I'm saying hold on,
priorities.
it's a fucking text to speech.
I fucking
Oh.
hate this.
Okay, so there would be some euthanization. There would be some form of reintegration. There would be other methods than than keeping 90 billion livestock animals, and it wouldn't be
How
a
would they
light
get
switch.
reintegrated?
Oh my god, it wouldn't be a one-day light switch to where everybody goes vegan in one day. It would be an integration.
Yeah, so this is a fair point that you are kind of dismissing, that it's not like a button would be pushed and everybody would become vegan. This would happen over years, if not decades, right? And then animals are
Just
going
like slavery did not end in a day.
Yeah, animals are going to be bred less and less and less until there are very little of them left anyways. And then we can take care of
But how
those
would that
animals.
happen without money?
The literal fucking
Because-
subsidies. Why wouldn't the government pay for the fucking shitstorm that they created? This money, they don't get it back. The money that they give as subsidies to dairy and meat industries,
They're
I
the
literally just
government
money.
doesn't get
They're
it back.
they're wasting money on the meat and dairy industry anyway.
Why the government wouldn't give subsidies?
They give subsidies to the meat and dairy industry.
They're not getting anything back from it. You're gonna say taxes, but the amount of puny taxes that they get from this isn't worth the fucking billions,
It's because they
trillions
generate
of
jobs.
money that they spend on those industries.
Paid by subsidies. Jobs paid.
You are
by
generalizing American shit.
No, my government also pays subsidies. The German government pays subsidies. UK pays government subsidies. Almost all governments. The UN subsidizes the fuck out of farmers. Almost every country in the world gives subsidies to farmers.
We are talking about second and third world countries.
Sorry?
Okay. What country does not pay? Okay. What country profits?
Second and third
solely-
world countries.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on,
India
hold on.
gives
What
incredible subsidies to
country
dairy
so-
farms.
Livestock farming
hold on.
generates
What
food,
country-
exports,
what
jobs, and
country-
tax revenue.
What country solely profits off of
That's
the
why
meat?
they give subsidies.
Jesus.
Hold on. Oh my god, dude. What country survives solely off of meat production or dairy production? Because I will grant you, some countries like Iceland, Greenland, they do heavily survive off of fish, and they do heavily profit off of fish. But as we integrate, as said, they will no longer need to do such.
Yeah. Like when we
New Zealand.
phased slavery out, oh my
Dude,
god,
JK.
the
I
world.
just said,
Uruguay.
hold on, I just said
Uruguay.
I just said the two that survive the most off of animal production, right? Greenland and Iceland. There is Netherlands does not survive solely off of
Uruguay, Namibia, Mongolia.
okay. Provide evidence that those countries solely their sole profit is off of those industries.
By the
Because
way,
I'm pretty sure Uruguay has oil production. I'm pretty sure Mongolia has
oh look, I'm reading about Uruguay, right? So more than 17,000 Uruguayan farmers will benefit from new project to integrate
Can
agroecological
I send
approaches. So they give them fucking subsidies.
Dude, it's because it provides to the GDP.
oh
Well,
my
not
God.
necessarily. I don't think it I don't think it's net worth. I think they're losing on it. That's how
Okay,
government subsidies work. The governments lose the subsidies. It's grants. It's like they giving the money away.
Are you fucking dumb?
Oh, great argument,
Okay.
mate.
Dude, okay, look. Listen.
It still gives
provide
jobs.
Provide it,
So what?
genius. Okay, jobs don't always inherently provide a better economy, by the way.
Yeah.
Some jobs are voluntary. Like military does not provide a better economy.
And by the way, the vegan world would create jobs. Like, I don't even know what the question is. The farmers
Hold
can transition. Yeah, the farmers can transition into vegan food production. They can transition
Are
into
you guys rage baiting?
Jesus Christ. They can transition into lab-grown meats. They can transition into like forestry, right? So they can like, not that I'm for it way too much, but they can use their land to like regrow forests, right? And they get grants for that from governments already. That happens. Also, like a bunch of farms, especially in like Ireland.
Hold
I
on.
just read hold on. So I just read
Yeah.
like a article about Ireland that they, like the farmers don't even make money from raising animals anymore. So they just do weddings on their farms, or they do like goat yoga, whatever. And one of those people is like a psychologist, right? So they like the animals are there like for moral relief or something like that, right? So they don't even make money from the agriculture anymore. And their side business, like giving their land for weddings, is the thing that produces more revenue for them. They
Does it
have
not
the
provide
lands,
jobs?
they're rich, they have lands, they can use those lands.
Does it not provide jobs?
Hold on. So
How the fuck does
for
like
one-
a wedding
for-
not provide jobs?
hold on. So I want to.
No, dumbass.
I just want
Thank
to
you.
add that you said Mongolia's.
I'm talking about agriculture.
Oh, hold on. You said
Me
their
too.
main production was the food industry. It's not. It is rolled copper sheeting, copper wire, and zinc concentrates. So it is mineral production that is their main production. So
Incorrect.
there's that. Fucking provide the evidence, my guy.
Yeah, provide some evidence for your stupidity.
I sent links.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's look. Okay, but anyway, so how does EV vehicles not ruin the economy if the oil industries were like transitioning to e-vehicles versus just maintaining oil production?
That's
Could
not
you
the
repeat
highest
the question?
GDP. Your actual source doesn't say that agriculture is the highest GDP. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Services is whatever that is the highest. Alright. Am I reading this correctly?
Jobs.
Yeah.
Oswell.
Well, if it was jobs in agriculture, it would say agriculture. Thank you for providing evidence for our claim, when claiming that you provided evidence for your claim. Awesome.
So components, GPT from agriculture.
It still provides a massive amount to the agriculture.
Yeah, and it's gonna continue doing so through plant agriculture.
Namibia, you do have a point. The agriculture is the
It's still gonna be called an agriculture economy.
Namibia GPT or GDP. The majority of its GPT, or oh god,
GDP.
Granddaddy Carter.
Yeah, so it is agriculture, and then it goes to construction. That is one country that you provided.
Yeah, I don't understand how this is the argument against veganism, that GDP is gonna change. GDPs change. Something is like the first export or the main GDP, and then it becomes not the main GDP. This happens all the fucking time.
Yeah, but also you have to consider that
A
agriculture.
country like Pakistan's
lumps in,
GDP is mostly services, but it's still called an agriculture-based economy.
So what?
Yeah, hold on. I just want to say something really quick. So the agriculture.
That's my argument.
industry-
Well, it's a
Yeah,
stupid
that's great.
argument, man. Sorry, Dingus, go on. Sorry.
Can you guys hear me or what? Like,
Yeah,
why
I
the
can
fuck
hear
is
you,
everyone
Dingus.
not
I'm
knowing?
sorry. He just like TTS keeps interrupting, so.
All right, so GDP sorry, agriculture as an industry incorporates like plant-based agriculture too. It's not just like animal-based. So they lump them together, right? So it may be the case that like the plant-based agriculture is like the major component in the GDP here, not the animal-based. I mean,
True.
I'm not arguing that like animal-based doesn't have a part in it, but it definitely is a considerable part, but it's just lumped together.
Yeah, so what?
But if there isn't livestock,
Yeah, so what? So it's gonna change. So you know how you're showing us those GDPs, right? Right?
the countries will have to import stuff.
Yeah, sure. So you know how you show us these GDPs? They already
Which
do.
would help economy.
Yeah, so you know how you show us
Transporters
these
of the
GDPs? Those GDPs are counted from year to year, and from year to year, which one is biggest changes. So it's gonna change. So what?
Importing
problem?
equals bad since no self-sustainability.
Well, that's already a global thing that happens. We're already in a globalization. No country on earth is, as far as I know, is self-sustained. Every country imports and exports goods. That's a good thing.
And again, with tower or vertical farming, that is already moving towards more sustainability because more countries are going to become more independent. Like tower farming would help countries like Sweden, Norway, Russia, the colder, and then vice versa for like warmer countries. Potato growth and stuff like that will also benefit from greenhouses, like Africa and stuff like that could benefit from getting potatoes and such like that in the warmer areas where they can't have fertilization.
And I would make a much stronger claim that lack of self-sustainability is a good thing. It keeps wars at bay. A lot of times when you have trade with a country, you're not just gonna willy-nilly try to invade it.
Regardless of which, there's a benefit or a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a trade-off. What's the problem?
Could I tell you some more economies which would collapse?
Okay, they would alter. They wouldn't collapse.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, you're just making the claim, just because something is like that today, that it's unchangeable. Economies are changeable. They change all the fucking time. Including those links that you gave us. Those are GDP for 2021 comparing to like December 2023. That means that the economy fucking changed.
Name a single economy that hasn't changed in its history. Because I can tell you there is currently economies changing. Currently. And that have been around a long fucking time, my guy. So it was an economy alter to go from wood ships to metal ships. It was an economy alter, and it ruined the economy for a brief time because we had to make new warehouses and stuff like that. Yes, it provided new jobs, but it also had to give grants to all those things, which affected the economy. Grants had to be given for construction for other things. There is always grants and subsidies that go to other things. It's not just agriculture. It's not just this or that. There is always an alter in economy, like she was saying. And there will be an... Oh, sorry.
That's right. Sorry, I broke your chain of thought. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. There's always a change in economy, and like there's never going to be a full choice in it because economy isn't always fully affected by, like, there might be economy changes that we can't even predict at this moment. But that doesn't mean that it's going to collapse.
Yeah. What a weird thing to say. What a weird, almost pseudo-conservative...
Somalia, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Mali, and Niger, Sudan.
Yeah, their economy also is gonna change. They're gonna import and
collapse.
export other shit. Well, like naming the countries
How will
actually
they?
like debunked you
Our
globally.
countries,
Are you stupid?
our country's GPT, or how are their economies not going to collapse if we eradicate oil?
You're just gonna
They
adapt.
will.
Like the way every
Yeah.
fucking economy adapts.
They still gonna collapse.
Please give me
Yeah, and
an
then
example from history.
a collapse, and then and then rebuild economy. You can collapse and rebuild.
Sure.
But also, like,
Okay.
if we have examples of countries like actually collapsing economically, the world governments are bailing them out. That's always what happens, right? So why wouldn't it happen this time as well if some country actually fucking collapses?
How will the government
And-
not stop?
And so, like, countries like Israel.
Starvation.
Hold on. Countries like Israel, like, technically would be very unsustainable. Like, in theory, since they're in the Middle East, they shouldn't be a vegan country.
They are carried
Like
by America.
Hold on. But they are the most vegan country on the planet.
Otherwise, they
right?
would be fucked.
Okay. Subsidies.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
back to subsidies.
Congratulations, you're catching on. And they're not carried by the US, they're carried by Britain and the US, okay? So the UK and the US. Both countries heavily support Israel. And the first movement was the
I didn't talk about your point. TW.
No,
Trigger warning?
you
What is going on?
Okay, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Continue.
So, yeah, Israel should not be a huge, like, technically speaking, it should not be even like it should be a very low and difficult place to be vegan, but it is the easiest place to be vegan in the world. And so that being said, we can integrate any country into being a vegan country. Sweden is already massively growing into a Swedish country. Germany, all these old countries that have been around for centuries are already making their integration, while other countries like the US aren't, right? Which is a much younger country and has much more area of growth than these older countries, because these older countries, have had room to develop, and whereas the United States is still, it might be in theory a developed country, but it is still such a young country where people don't even have true establishment here, because we're all over the place. People are so divided. People are always like, oh, need to make America great again. Hence, the unsustainable, unstable. It's a super unstable country. Where else these stable countries are already moving towards going highly vegan.
How would the countries without arable land survive?
Arable land?
Yeah.
They're gonna
Greenhouse.
import food. And they're gonna export
Yeah, greenhouse.
their things that they can produce.
Yeah.
How would they import?
Yeah, that's good. Import is good. Export is good.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have money.
They could export stuff, and then they would have money.
Again, also greenhousing is a major.
If they wouldn't have enough money to import.
Greenhousing is a major government plan that is already in implementation. We are already trying to move governments towards massive greenhouse expenditures. So there is already going to be, because we are already starting to come into a realization that animal agriculture is too expansive because we are deforesting the Amazon, we're deforestation in Australia, Africa, pretty much everywhere on the planet has had too much of deforestation due to the animal agriculture. So we are already moving heavily towards plant or greenhousing so we can have more feed for animals. However, what we could do instead of moving to greenhouses,
You're terminated.
Hold on.
Sorry?
However,
what did they say? You
Misclick.
terminated?
Misclick. Okay. So, however, instead of using greenhousing to feed livestock, we could just not feed the livestock and we could just use the greenhouses to feed us.
Yeah, or like at first.
So you are
at least.
talking about animal endangerment?
No, because we slowly integrate animals out of the domesticated animals out of existence. And I'm not fully against euthanasia or euthanizing the.
You just said
like,
you'd starve them.
No, euthanize. And I'm not totally against.
That's literally killing.
Here's the thing. I understand. I think where the contention is. Axel said that at some point we're gonna have no agricultural animals that we have to feed, and therefore whatever we're
So why
growing.
not just kill them?
Jesus Christ! Please let me finish.
No. The short answer is no, but let her finish.
Damn, please. So, what Axel was trying to say, right? That at some point this is not going to be a problem. But yes, at first it might be like an issue that we're going to have to feed quite a few individuals until they naturally die. Well, we made this mess. We're going to have to pay for it for a little while. But you're going to have to prove that it's not possible with the subsidies that already we're paying with now, and that it's not economically viable to continue like feeding these a few individuals, not a few, it's going to be a couple of million individuals that weren't yet phased out, that were bred into existence, and now we're responsible for them.
Euthanizing or killing them for food, select one.
Excuse me?
What?
Now we're just talking to a robot, I think. I'm like imagining the
You literally
time
said that you would
after this
euthanize the animal.
Euthanize, yeah, sure. Again, I'm not entirely against euthanization, and sure, if it's coming, again, reintegration. So it's not like that all.
But wouldn't killing them for food be better?
Hold on. We wouldn't be completely ending the exploitation, right? Like, it wouldn't be a complete end all exploitation at this second, right? There would still have to be some, right, to utilize it, but it would be a transition. Do you understand that it's a transition?
Yeah, it's like not a switch flip, not a flip.
It's not like all McDonald's is just gonna collapse immediately.
So it's not a solution.
Oh my god, dude. It's an integration.
Jesus Christ, it's not a black and white solution. It's not a flip switch. That's all we're saying. Of course it's a solution. It's a solution is gonna take time. Because creating this shitstorm took time. And now we're in the shitstorm. We have to start fixing it.
It's the world's
So wouldn't keeping them be better?
Better
we
for
would
whom?
be keeping
Like the livestock sector.
Hold on. We would be using the livestock sector. We wouldn't be producing more. We would be integrating some into sanctuaries to make it more rapid.
Till the animals would killed.
I'm not even understanding the TTS anymore.
I'm just gonna repeat myself. There would still be animal consumption to some degree, okay? There would still be some euthanizing. There would still be sanctuaries.
So
Not
you aren't
every-
against animal consumption?
It would be the reproduction that would be stopped immediately. Okay? It's the reproduction. So we would gradually, because it's 90 billion animals, it would be gradually, within a couple of years, we could be at a point. It wouldn't take that long for it to start. It would be a couple of years where we start to reintegrate into a new society. It's just like transitioning to an EV world, right? It wouldn't be immediately. It wouldn't be like today that all cars are going to an EV vehicle. It would be a transition to where EV vehicles become the dominant.
Sorry, let
driving.
me make something incredibly clear. At this second that we're talking, like 10, 20, 30,000 farmers have their arms up the asses of cows so that they can impregnate those cows, so that more cows would exist in the world. If we stop shoving hands into the cows' anuses to like produce more cows, the production of cows would decline. What is not clear about that?
And we're not saying everybody stop eating McDonald's this second, right? It's not like
Be right back.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. I'm going as well. Thank you for the lovely conversation. Jesus.
Yeah, sorry for the
Can I tell you something?
No.